Hello, and welcome back to my channel where we make life happen for us instead of to us, and I talk about how we can do that. So, to get right down to business, I think one of the reasons that we can't reach our dreams is because they're not specific enough. And I'll explain. And also, I apologize for how I sound. I'm This is another video I'm recording while I'm sick. Um, so just bear with me. I think this information is important. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. So I watch a lot of positive content or productivity content about manifesting your desires or just like reaching your goals in general, right? And something that all of these people talk about consistently, whether it's, like someone who became a millionaire or someone who's running a successful business or like someone who just has a goal or a desire that they want to attain, all of them talk about the same thing, which is being specific with whatever it is that you want or desire. And you know what? When I was reflecting on my own life, I realized that I attained the things that I did because I was specific. Like that's one of the things that I was specific. When I manifested my dream life of not having to work a job anymore, I was also specific with that. Like, yeah, I had planned to leave my job, but I did say that I wanted to leave it by a specific month and a specific week. And I also determined a specific amount of money I'd need in order to feel okay after I left. And you know what happened? So I didn't leave the job. I was laid off, right? But I was laid off during that specific month that I said I wanted to leave. And in this specific week, I said I wanted to leave. And then they gave me severance. And the amount that I got, so between my savings and the amount of severance I got, it allowed me to reach that specific financial goal that I said I'd need in order to feel okay. Now, I didn't have everything figured out, right? Like when I talk about specificity, I'm not talking about figuring everything out about how you will get to what you want. No. What I mean here is just figuring out the specifics of the goal that you want. And I think there are probably studies out there to back me up on this. But I think that when we are specific with what we want, it helps our brains to better hone in on and focus on ways to get the thing that we want. And eventually that will lead us to taking action to get the things that we want, sometimes even without us realizing. And I've talked about this before in this channel, right? But like our brains will work to bring about whatever it is that we focus on. In this instance, us being specific with what we want helps our brain focus on the thing that we want. I mean, clearly, we want the thing when we can be so specific with it, right? And then when we do that, our brain picks it up and says, okay, so that's what we're focusing on. And then it runs with it. And because of the specificity, it's looking for ways to and narrowing in on opportunities that can help us get what we want, even without us consciously thinking about it all the time. So, how do we get specific with the things that we want? The first thing is we want to be clear with whatever it is that we want. Like, do we want a specific amount of money? If we want money, right? If we want more money, saying we want a lot of money, that's not enough for our brains to focus on. So like we want to have a specific amount. When we think about the thing that we want to be specific. Okay. Then we want to start to think about the why. Why is it that we want that thing? Would it make us feel comfortable, feel safe, feel fulfilled? In my case, my why for the amount of money that I wanted was because that amount of money would make me feel safe. Like I wouldn't feel like I would need to be in survival mode. I also do want to mention here that I think thinking about or taking note of the why will help us make an emotional connection with it, which is really important. When we make an emotional connection with the thing that we want, it's more likely that our brain will pay attention to it, right? even subconsciously, because clearly if it's evoking an emotion, it's important enough to pay attention to. Then the next thing we may want to do is we may want to choose constraints. So I recently learned about this from Dan Koh in one of his videos, and I think it's interesting enough to mention here. So he was talking about goal setting, specifically goal setting for our lives, and he talked about having constraints, which are our non-negotiables or things that we aren't willing to sacrifice to reach our goals. For example, if we want to work a job earning a specific amount of money, one of the constraints that we might have is that we won't work on weekends or we won't work outside of work hours because we value time with family. Or let's say if we're an entrepreneur, our constraint might be that, we only want to work within a few hours of the day. Now, what this constraint does is it's really helpful for that specificity because by us being specific with what we don't want to do, it's, yes, going to help our imagination in order to get to that goal, but also it's going to help our brain become more efficient, right? So going back to the entrepreneur example, let's say I say, okay, I only want to work 4 hours a day. Well, what does that mean? Right? That means that if I'm setting this constraint where I want to reach a certain financial goal by only working 4 hours a day, I'm going to need to learn to be very efficient with my time so that the hours I do work are very potent, very focused, and I'm able to get a lot done, right? Which may mean that I'm going to need to learn certain skills to ensure that I can be efficient like that. Like, you see what I mean here? So having constraints signals to our brain that, yes, there are things we want to avoid, so don't focus on those things. Let's focus on all of the other ways that we can reach our goal, which will also make us more efficient. And I think that the last way that I'm going to mention here of how we can be specific is by having some sort of time frame. If not a day, then like just some sort of time frame, a month, a week, something like that, where we want to reach our dreams by. And I think this is the premise of the 12-week year. So if you haven't heard of it, the 12-week year is a book. It's mainly for like business or corporations to help them set goals. But essentially, the authors argue that whatever time frame we give ourselves to reach a goal, we will strive to reach it within that time frame. So if we say, for example, that something is going to take us a year to do, generally, it's going to take us the entire year. And what this may mean is that for much of the year, we may push it off until closer to the end of the year, where then we scramble to get things done. So instead of taking the entire year, and then, we might or will likely waste a lot of that time, we instead shorten that time frame. And the authors argue that, 12 weeks seem to be like the sweet spot based on research. But in this case, right? Now, when it comes to reaching your dreams, being specific does include the time frame, right? So whatever time frame that we set for ourselves to achieve our goal or our desires, that's the time frame we will work to it. Like that's the time frame our brain will recognize to achieve the goal in. So if we say a year, it's going to take us a year. If we say a month, we'll focus and get it done in a month. But this also means that if we don't set a time frame, we may never actually reach that goal, right? Like we never specified a time, so our brain is not really going to prioritize it. Our brain will just think, yeah, okay, like you say you want this, but this can happen whenever, so let's just put this on the back burner and we're going to focus on something else for now. So when we are specific with the time frame, it helps our brain to prioritize what it is that we want and helps our brain to focus on, like appropriately focus on getting the thing that we want. So, in summary, to reach our dreams, yes, we need to have imagination that I talked about in the last video, but we also need to be specific, which means that we need to be clear on whatever it is that we want, be clear on why we want that thing so that we can make an emotional connection to it and make our brain pay attention to it more. We want to choose constraints to help our brain be more efficient to getting the thing that we want. And we want to choose a time frame so that our brain can better prioritize us getting the thing that we want. So, I hope that this video gave you some helpful, actionable information about why being specific is important to reaching your dream life and how you can reach your dream life. And if you did find this helpful, feel free to comment below. If you'd like to join a community where we are actively working to reach our dreams this year, I've created one that's free for right now, and I've included the link in the description. And if you do like this content and want to see more of it, subscribe to my channel, yes, but also feel free to join my free newsletter so that you can get some of this helpful content right to your inbox. Okay, I will end it here for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.